This is George Dionne of the Rock is George podcast, and this is a KNAC.com exclusive interview with Norwegian solo artist LIV KRISTINE. If I knew absolutely nothing about LIV KRISTINE, how would you describe your music to me?
Huh. Uh, oh, that's the most difficult question you could ask, I guess, because every solo album is different. But every solo album is me, is truly me. Every solo release is it could be. It feels like I've written books and published them, telling about my life and how life was when I was in that recording process. Sometimes I'm diving into the past, telling stories from the past or sharing my experience from the past. It's like a life work, and I'm very lucky to have you guys around being so open-minded. So I can stretch in any direction I want to, and you won't let me down. So I feel privileged. So every time I start working on a new album, it's like, okay, let's see what happens, what manifests through me. It's not like I'm planning a world hit number one for the parades, for the hit parades. It's like, okay, I got to do exactly what I feel like doing right now, so that every solo album is different. So I have to say, it's just LIV KRISTINE. It's authentic.
And you have a new solo album coming out on April 25th called
Mm-hmm.
Amor Vincit
Vincit Omnia, yeah.
through Metalville Records.
Yes.
You didn't waste much time in a new studio album. Your last studio album was River of Diamonds in 2023. Was this a particularly creative period for you over the last couple of years?
Well, actually, River of Diamonds was composed and produced together with Tommy Olsson, one of my friends from Theatre of Tragedy. And we got together and we worked on River of Diamonds for a longer period of time. It was nearly like 5 or 6 years. I needed time because I needed to fix some stuff in my private life, and so I needed more time to get where I wanted to be, to have a free, clear mind to sit down and really write the words I wanted to write, to come up with the melodies I really needed for his compositions. So before River of Diamonds was released, I started working with Sascha. Sascha is my used to be my live guitar player. He's still my live guitar player, but he's my composer now as well. So Tommy's having a break, and Sascha is not only my live guitar player, but also my composer now. And he started sending me songs, and Sascha knows that, if he sends me 20 songs, I will probably pick 11. So I've always been surrounded by very patient people. So when River of Diamonds was released, we were one third into the pre-production of Amor Vincit Omnia.
Okay. So when it comes to songwriting between you and Sascha, do the lyrics come first? The music comes first? Is it just a collaborative effort back and forth?
Music comes first. So he keeps sending me bunch of songs and bunch of ideas, and then I'm like, okay, I can connect to this one. This one really, this song really inspires me. So I kind of I'm trying to find out which compositions, which songs really connect with me. And then I start working on melody lines, and then I work on the words. So when I start working on the melody lines, it might be, I'm just singing bullshit. I'm just singing words I think would fit phonetically. And then I need to figure out what I want to sing about, and what is that word I'm trying to catch. Because the sound of the word, the phonetics, of every word is so important to me. If I need a word with O and A and it has to be that word. So it's a process of fine tuning, and everything has to grow together and complete each other. So when I feel like, okay, this is it, this is exactly, I've brought it to a point where I can say, okay, now it feels perfect for me, then I'm sending everything off to Sascha. And then he's like, okay, Liv, could you do more of this? Or should we maybe try to double this part, double this chorus or whatever? It's like Sascha uh, and we share the same vision. So it's so easy to work with him, and our communication is completely direct and transparent. So if he would say, no, this doesn't feel great, I would say, you're right. Yeah, let's go for something different. So we have the same vision, we share the same vision, and then we support each other to get to that point.
Well, why don't we talk about the album's title track, Amor Vincit Omnia? Why don't you tell me a little bit about what inspired the song and how it came together?
Well, okay, when I heard the song, I recorded my clean vocals first, and then I did some growling. I thought this song needs some contrasting vocals. And then my husband passed my yoga room, my recording room, where I put up my microphone and my garage band and everything. And he said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm trying to growl." And he said, "Okay, let me try to do that for you." So he actually joined me just like that. So that turned into a Beauty and the Beast song, reminding us about theatre of tragedy in the earlier times, and a little bit about Liv's Eyes too. Um, so, and the title, I felt like this is such a heavy, deep song. We need a title which could have been, carved into wood or into stone. And that is what Latin does, isn't it? So I chose the title Amor Vincit Omnia. It's like love is the strongest power, love conquers everything. And that is what I've felt during the writing process of River of Diamonds. I was sharing stories, I was sharing experience and hope. River of Diamonds is about hope, seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. When you've been through that, been down there, the dark path, diving really and digging into your soul stuff, the darkness in there, which I think happens to every one of us at least once in a lifetime. And then on Amor Vincit Omnia, I'm actually having a look at the answers and trying to explain this path, why we human beings go through this, and why it makes so much sense. Because afterwards, when you've survived this whole thing, you realize that it's the light and the darkness that manifest your true self. You can't go chasing happiness and rainbows and butterflies and think this is what life is about. It's not. It's going to make you very stressed out and very unhappy. And you better. It's so much better for you if you have a look at yin yang balance and try to accept. If you go into that frequency of acceptance. I am both. I am darkness. I am light. I am my demons. I am my angels. I think you'll arrive at a very safe place, and I am there at 49.
Now, you mentioned your husband, Michael. I believe he's in the heavy metal band Vendetta. How did you two originally meet?
Well, actually, he's the manager of Vendetta, but he used to be in a band many years ago, and he quit, and he wanted to be the manager instead because he's very good at managing. I mean, he's a good bass player and he's a great vocalist too, but I think he feels better with just being my very, very special guest every now and then, and taking care of the management, because I have a 9 to 5 job. I'm working with children with special needs, and music is where I find my balance to my daily job. Talking about balance, so I met Michael in 2018 with, we've crossed roads a couple of times when he was managing Vendetta and a couple of other bands, and I was playing at the same festivals with my bands or band. So I knew that Danish guy, that very friendly, good-looking Danish guy, but I was, married and all that stuff. So, um, but then in 2018, he reached out. He wanted to invite me to a metal show, a talk show about what it is like to be a female singer in this dark metal world, and uh, uh, how I happened to end up with angelic vocals in doom metal in the 90s in Stavanger, Norway. And I said, yes, I'd love to attend the show. I'd like to be part of it. So I drove to Switzerland. I used to live in Germany back then, and I drove to Switzerland with my Toyota Hilux, my pickup, and I was very excited about the show. But then I met the man of my life, and yeah, that's it's balance. It's just it is as if we've met in an earlier life, if I'm allowed to say so. It's just it's beautiful. That is also what Amor Vincit Omnia is about. Love conquers it all. So if you are patient, maybe not your first 4 or 7 relationships, not even your first marriage or your second marriage, maybe that was the right thing for that point of time at that place to be in, but maybe not later. So things might change. Nothing is eternal. And now, since I met Michael, I understood that, well, love has to do with going inwards and also loving yourself for everything you are, right?
Right.
You're never dependent on anybody outside to love you, for you to love yourself. It's the other way around, actually.
You released a new single today, actually, Ode to Life Pristine. Why don't you tell me a little bit about that song?
Oh, it's about that feeling, that connection to nature, because I've always felt very strongly connected to nature. I grew up on the countryside of Norway, and I do remember my mother always putting her fingers into the earth, into the soil, and everything grew. Everything she touched in our garden bloomed, blossomed, and grew. And I have that image in my head of my mother's garden. And yeah, my father was whenever he had the time, he spent time in the garden, and that's what I'm singing about, feeling this connection to nature, and also this physical connection to earth, to the ground, to any season and to any weather. And in Norway we have a lot of weather. There is always coming. Always, there's something coming down. uh, um, there is always wind. There is, at least at the rugged west coast where I'm from. So I've spent 30 years outside of Norway, and I've always taken care of spending time in and with nature. But it's going to be great to come back, because in July we'll move back to Norway, to my parents' garden. It's going to be my garden, actually.
It's awesome.
Thanks.
This is your second album from Metalville Records. How did you end up signing with them initially?
That was Michael, my husband, Michael. He's like, okay, so he knew that I've had my experience with very big labels. And of course, back in those days, there was more music in my life than teaching. So there's always been both teaching, school, children with special needs, and music. There's always been both, but at different levels. So, and I really love what I'm doing. I love both, and I want to keep both. And I thought when I in 2016 when those big changes, really big changes, came into my life, and yeah, my life was upside down. I needed to fix a lot of stuff, taking care of my family, finding a new home and stuff, and I was forced to leave my band, leave Size, and there was a lot of stuff going on. And then I decided to just break free from any label contract, from any deal, to start from scratch. I wasn't really sure if I would ever release an album again. And Michael said, "This is the path to go. Just get rid of everything, dissolve any contract, any deal, and we'll start from scratch. And I'm going to help you so you can do both children and music." And so I did. Uh, And then Metalville is just, the right size when you need to call somebody. You actually reach somebody, a friendly voice saying, "Hey, good morning. What can I do for you?" And that is exactly what I need. I really appreciate transparency and communication, direct communication, because we're both in this. So why don't be creative together?
You have a album release party or shows coming up at the end of April, right around release time in the Netherlands and Germany. What can fans expect at these shows?
A new set list, of course. Yes, we're going to play a bunch of the tracks, of the new tracks, of the new songs. We're going to play some old songs too. You'll hear Tanz der Schatten. That was with Theatre of Tragedy, 1996 or something. Michael's going to be on stage too, my very special guest. So it's going to be a journey through time, but most of all, I'm really happy to present my new songs.
Do you get a lot of opportunities to do live performances and tour where you have this full-time job that also would keep you busy?
It's difficult. It's a very good question. It's difficult, and I have to say that since these strange COVID times, this whole thing, um, live schedules, trying to get a gig, everything became very difficult for us artists. And I was lucky because I already had my job, my 9 to 5 job, so I was safe financially. But I have colleagues and friends who really suffered during these times. And now, a couple of years later, I see that things are settling and it's getting easier. It's to get a gig. But for me now, my work situation in Switzerland, we're living in Switzerland at the moment. You're working a lot in Switzerland to make ends meet. And I love my job, but Scandinavia is different. Teachers work less hours in Scandinavia. That's the way it is. So I'm going to have more time to play gigs. And I'm probably, hopefully, going to play some gigs in Scandinavia. I've never played a solo gig in my home country, Norway. That's going to be, I hope that the doors will open.
Do any of your students realize your music career?
Yes, and it's so funny when they find out, it's like, "Oh, Miss Espenæs, we found you on YouTube. We found you on Facebook, 70,000 followers." And I'm like, I always catch myself blushing. It's like, they're so honest. Children are honest. And they're like, "Why don't you dress like that when you're our teacher? We would love we would love it, and they're like, "Oh, we just heard your new song," and I even have pupils, children coming to my gigs, VIP backstage with lots of sweets and and cookies and cakes, and we're having a really good time. So it's just beautiful. Yeah, I love it. And sometimes I experience, or quite often actually, parents who know me, or even grandparents who know me. So my grandmother said she got your first album. Can I bring it for you to sign it, Miss Espenæs? Hey, it's so funny, and it fills me with gratitude.
Now, you're releasing your latest studio album here in April, but you've also re-released your debut studio album. I may butcher the title, Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah, Deus Ex Machina. Yeah,
Close enough.
close. Yeah.
That came out in 1998. You're putting it back out through Allegro Talent Media. You have a double CD version with bonus tracks and some pretty cool vinyl that goes along with it.
Thanks.
How would you say that you've evolved since that album?
I have to say that now, looking back, I was pretty courageous back then because I was in a gothic doom metal band, and then I released a pop album. But I really didn't give it a real thought back then. And that's always been my path since then. Just release what feels authentic to you and forget about the rest. I never depend on what people say about me, as long as I can feel it and stand up for it and answer the questions in the interview why I did that, you know. Um, and since my comeback in releasing River of Diamonds, you hadn't heard much from me during 5 or 6 years. Yeah, I was busy fixing my private life. And then re-releasing Deus Ex Machina was actually, it felt great to say that, yeah, I'm still on that path. I'm still that artist. And I feel when I'm creating stuff, I feel completely free. And thanks to you out there, I, I can, I can do this. Nobody ever said to me, "You can't do that. You're a gothic metal lady," or something like that. Nobody ever said that. So I guess that depends on trust. And that's a great privilege.
There's also a milestone for you this year. Your first album that I'm aware of, Theater of Tragedy's debut album, came out 30 years ago through Century Media here in the US.
Yes.
What do you remember about putting that album together? I would imagine you were a young person back then, and the experience was probably pretty new for you.
Well, that was like we were students. We were students of American and British English art. We loved Edgar Allan Poe and Shakespeare and all that stuff, which you can hear in the lyrics on the album. And we felt so inspired, and we were so creative, and we just went for it. And back then, even with Theatre of Tragedy, we never thought about what people would say. Of course, there were some people who said, like, you can't have an angelic voice in dark doom metal like this. But then they figured out, let's call it gothic metal with female vocals. And then everything was settled. Everything was clear. It's okay to have contrasting vocals within this kind of music. So times back then were really inspiring, and I don't really know. We, at least as a band, meeting up at the weekends and, you know, having beers and writing songs, being at the rehearsal room, spending time at the rehearsal room. We really didn't plan anything. We just did it. It's a great place to come from. Yeah, we talked about that path, and I'm incredibly lucky to still be on this path, to have that open-minded audience out there.
With your style of vocals, which you describe as angelic and kind of the gothic music, have you ever thought about taking your vocals into like the theater realm? Because I feel like that's the kind of voice that you have.
Well, I just love your questions, because there are still some things I haven't done in my life yet. You know, that's it, and it's not too late. It's never too late. I know people who started their theater career when they were 70, and I'm 49 now, so I'm just in the middle of my life. So I I think I'm going to turn 100. So I have so much time. When I think about the life I've already lived, with its ups and downs, and you know, traveling the world for 30 years, and wow, I've experienced and I've gone through so much, and now I feel kind of okay, things are settling. It's getting more quiet, everything, and I know where I'm at, and I feel absolutely safe with everything. So it's more like I'm not trying to fix stuff so much anymore. It's more like, all these opportunities, all these possibilities. Let's go for it. I'm not afraid of falling. I'm not afraid of failing as much as I was when I was younger. But I guess we all know that feeling. So you said it, George.
Well, those are all the questions I have for you today. Your new album, Amor Vincit Omnia, is coming out on April 25th through Metalville Records. Fantastic album. I wish you the best of luck with it, and I want to thank you for telling me more about it today.
Thank you so much, George. Thanks for having me. And I love the questions. I love talking to you, and I hope to see you again very soon for the 8th solo album. Hope to see you again then. Thanks for being around. Thanks for all your support. Be safe, George, and lots of love to your beloved ones.